Okay, so as we gather here tonight, we are firmly pointed towards a return to in-person teaching and learning, which we're very excited about. Our students in substantially separate classes will be returning on March 29th, followed by K-5 students on April 5th. And finally, we are aiming for our middle schoolers to join us on April 26th. School leaders and teachers have started to distribute our learning choice form with families via email and Class Dojo. So this document at this point is for K-5 families only, and it gives them the chance to let us know if their elementary student is going to be attending school full-time 5 days per week in person, or if your student will be remaining in remote learning 5 days per week. If you have not received the learning choice form from your school, please contact your building principal or assistant principal, and one will definitely be made available to you. For students in our substantially separate classrooms, you will be contacted directly about your choice. And then as we move into our next phases, we'll be communicating with middle school families and high school families. I also wanted to just take a brief moment to clarify the messaging from DESE regarding the mandated return to school by Monday, April 5th. I wanted to just remind families that the state's school reopening directive applies to districts, not to families. So DESE has been clear from the start that another one of their mandates is that districts must follow is to allow students to remain in remote education for the remainder of the school year if they so choose, and that has not changed. And I think many families may be hearing mandated return and believe that that means that their students are mandated to return. And so I just wanted to make that distinction. That is not the case. It is not the families, but our school districts that are required to return by April 5th. And this is the question we've been receiving most frequently, so I wanted to address it. In addition, there are two important safety considerations that we wanted to make everybody aware of. First, all students who attend in-person classes will be wearing face coverings no matter what their grade level. Two, which we discussed at length during our last meeting, we will be using the state-approved 3 feet minimum of physical distancing to help us configure our classrooms and to accommodate every student who wants to return for in-person learning. While 6 feet is certainly preferable, and it's what we're going to be striving towards, we just want to make sure that families are aware that we are going to be abiding by the 3 foot minimum. We will talk more today about the initial data from the learning choice form, but I wanted to actually start tonight's presentation by announcing the winners of last month's Black History Month contests. So to quickly recap, we sponsored 3 different contests, one for students in grades K through 5, one at the middle school level, and one for Everett High School. We received 47 entries from our youngest students, 121 from grades 6 to 8, and 66 from our high schoolers. So for the level K to 5, we held an art contest in which students designed colorful posters that illustrated what Black History Month means to them. Our first place winner is Giovanni Namey, a first grader at the Parlin School. Giovanni's creation, which you can see on the slide here at the left, is a fantastic mix of, personal history, artistic flair, and also it had academic research in it as well. And the threefold design was especially effective. Our judges were very impressed by this. Lafayette School second grader Natalia Moreo earned second place honors, and her submission featured a family tree design as a celebration of who Natalia calls the brave people who made a change in America. And in third place was a Webster School third grader, Maria Clara Matis, who created a visual that draws a link between the core values of Black History Month and the added challenges we were experiencing during the pandemic. So that was really amazing to see. For our middle school students, we asked participants to write an essay answering the question, is there an individual who inspires you for Black History Month? Jaleesa Hanley, a Parlin School seventh grader, submitted the winning essay. It was a powerful reflection on the immense but sometimes overlooked efforts of civil rights and women's rights activist Dorothy Irene Height. And you can see a quote from her essay on this slide. In second place is English School 7th grader Ania Jean-Baptiste, who wrote about poet Amanda Gorman, who is the youngest inaugural poet in the history of our country. And, I think we've all seen Amanda's poems several different times. I know I have. And it was called The Hill We Climb, and it was on the day that Joe Biden was sworn in as president. So that was a really amazing essay that she wrote. The third place winner is Cavarian School 7th grader Jeremy Whitlow, who wrote about his admiration for the influential contemporary author Jason Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds' most recent work, Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, serves as a very informative and powerful way to start conversations about these critical subjects. And I know that it's been a book that's been used by our staff at the Cavarian. For our high school students, we provided 3 quotes around which students could construct an essay. The winning submission was written by junior Sean Sheik. He wrote his essay in response to the short and powerful directive by politician, educator, and author Shirley Chisholm that says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Specifically, Sean wrote about how this advice is especially useful for teenagers whose voice might be dismissed as being inexperienced. And so there's a quote from his essay on the right. Junior Alyssa Hurley earned second place honors for her essay discussing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s sentiments that we must balance the power of forgiveness with the dangers of forgetting. And Tommy Cubis earned third place honors, writing about that same quote by Dr. King. And Tommy penned a deeply personal essay on family, forgiveness, and cherishing the people who love and support us. So all winners received gift cards for their achievements. I do want to thank Addie Celestin, a member of our central office team, for organizing our district-wide Black History Month efforts. We look forward to making them a yearly tradition. I also wanted to thank our teachers for promoting the contests. A 7th and 8th grade teacher at the Whittier remarked that her students were very eager to extend their learning on the many Black American individuals and important historical movements in the ongoing fight for racial justice and equality that we've studied throughout this year. And she was very excited that the essay contest provided them with a broader outreach and potential community awareness. Finally, I wanted to thank the individuals who helped judge the submissions, which included Addie Celestin, Corey McCarthy, Frances Canty, Jane Goodman, Letitia Faison, Sashay Walls, Steve August, Stanley Chamberlain, Jonah Hooks, Jada Simone Ononime, Claudie St. Just, Shalonda Irish, and Christine Alphonse. We also have exciting news to share with our EHS 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. The district is offering a comprehensive tutoring program from the leading college prep provider, Livius. So this is being provided to our students at no cost. It was founded in 1984, Livius was, and it offers a combination of time-tested methodologies, proprietary strategies that they've created, a very expert curriculum, and rigorously trained tutors who can boost the student achievement. So the program will run every week from March 22nd through June 11th, with the exception of April vacation. Students will meet for 2 45-minute sessions per week in groups of no more than 5 students. So schedules will be emailed to students later this week. In advance of the live tutoring sessions, our students have taken reading and math assessments to pinpoint what type of help and instruction they may need. So the assessments were 40 minutes, 20 minutes for reading, 20 minutes for math, and the program will conclude with a live proctored assessment on June 12th. 9th graders will be taking part in a program called the 2 Sigma Academic Program. This academic immersion program is designed to close gaps in student learning, regardless of the instructional model they have been in during the 2020-2021 school year. The 10th grade program focuses on college readiness, while our juniors will be exposed to high quality SAT and ACT test prep. Livius has a very long track record of generating results, and in the 35 years that it has been established, it has helped students boost their SAT scores by an average of 225 points and ACT scores by an average of 6 points. So I also wanted to congratulate our family liaisons, Sarah Paiva, Erica Green, and Felicia Barbosa for completing the Interpreter and Translator in Education Training Workshop Series at Umass Amherst. So this intense workshop series was created by the Translation Center at Umass Amherst for the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and it was offered to us free of charge. So this series provided an educational and professional setting in which our participants could learn about the standards and procedures of interpreting and translating in a school setting. The program offered them an opportunity to practice and develop their translation and interpreting skills, to consider and reflect on specific situations, and to also build a network of colleagues. So the workshops will raise the already impressive capacity of our family liaisons who have just been invaluable this year. And we have 3 additional family liaisons enrolled in the program right now, and eventually we hope to have all of our family liaisons complete this fantastic program, which again amplifies the essential role that they play in helping us fulfill our core values and mission. So today marks the 3rd week that more than 50 of our English learners are in school for full-time instruction 4 days a week at the Lafayette, Whittier, and Parlin. Of this group, many are experiencing their first classroom experiences as students in the United States, and not just Everett. Feedback from the teachers who volunteered to come back and lead these classes has been really, really positive. Student behavior has been described as exceptional, and everybody has been really diligent in wearing their face coverings and practicing social distancing, physical distancing. So these photos on this slide feature thank you cards from students in Catherine Kokova's class. So Ms. Kokova also sent us a fantastic video of her students singing to Whitson staff when they bring lunch to the classroom. And she wrote in her email, "It makes me so happy to see them happy." I had the pleasure of reading to 2 of our classes during Read Across America Week, and it really was just a joy to be able to see classes full of students who are engaging with their teachers and schoolwork, and it makes me that much more excited about bringing back our students very soon. I did want to remind our families that the Parent Information Center will begin registering students in pre-K to 3, or pre-K 3, pre-K 4, kindergarten, and first grade on Monday, May 3rd. Beginning on Monday, April 19th, families can actually visit the pick page on the EPS website and use our multilingual appointment booking tool to easily reserve a registration time slot. I do want to remind families to please make sure they make an appointment, as we are still not allowing walk-in registrations at this time in order to, again, maintain the flow of families in and out. The enrollment period for students in grades 2 through 12 begins on Tuesday, June 1st. So you can begin to secure appointments online beginning on Thursday, May 18th. So if anyone has a K-12 student, or who knows somebody who has a K-12 student who will be joining the EPS next year, we do encourage you to please make an appointment as soon as you can. No need to wait until August. Our family liaisons are also available to help families that need support with the registration process. And I'm also pleased to announce that this year we will offer free morning and afternoon pre-K sessions 5 days per week in the class in school year 2021-2022. So we have developed a robust schedule of professional development for our teachers as they're preparing for returning to class for in-person teaching and learning. The courses are self-paced. They cover a wide range of topics and technology related to this unprecedented school year. We are using the same application that we actually used for our summer institute, and it's called SCED, and it's where we're organizing and housing our PD to make it easily accessible for our teachers to complete remotely. So the lineup of sessions will help our staff use the technology, software, platforms we will use to connect students learning in classrooms and at home. They range from, very practical, like how to set up a cell phone for mobile Zoom control, to more in-depth tutorials on programs such as mystery science and gamification. So the resources will help teachers leverage platforms to make their lessons interactive, using document cameras, microphones, and our many content presentation products such as Pear Deck, Kahoot, and Edpuzzle. We also included a webinar on trauma-informed teaching from our counseling provider, Elliot, to help prepare teachers meet the social emotional needs of students. And we've included an optional mental health series from the Cambridge Health Alliance. So we do want to thank our amazing partners for supporting us by providing these resources. I also wanted to once again thank our amazing virtual learning leaders who've been playing a lead role in curating these practical teacher-centered professional development sessions. As always, we look forward to hearing from our staff about the session so that we can continue to bolster our efforts to offer the highest quality PD and to improve our PD over time. So this slide is a follow-up to a program we first introduced you to in early February. It's called the High School Senior Internship and Education Program, or HSSIEP. The paid internship is being offered to 20 Everett High School students through DESE, a connecting activities initiative that they have, and the Commonwealth Corporation's Youth Works program. It's supported by Commonwealth's 16 regional mass hire workforce boards. So our interns will be assigned to all of our elementary schools and the Devon School. They're going to be starting Monday, April 5th, and they can work up to 100 hours during the rest of the school year, which means that they might have an opportunity to help our teachers on close to a full-time basis after their 12th grade academic year comes to an end. So our congratulations to these students for being selected and taking part of this invaluable opportunity to work with our dedicated EPS educators. Of the 20 interns, 2 each will be assigned to the Devons, Parlin, Webster, and Whittier, and 3 interns will be at the Maddie English, 4 at the Lafayette, and 5 at the Cavarian. For our students, the internship will expose them to classroom experiences while helping them build and hone their interpersonal communication, listening, and time management skills. Connecting Activities is a DESE initiative that leverages a statewide infrastructure to support college and career readiness for all students. And Commonwealth Corporation's Youth Work is a workforce development agency that strengthens the skills of Massachusetts residents through innovative partnerships. Finally, the Mass Hire Workforce Boards are entrusted to help develop the strategies that guide the Commonwealth's efforts in ensuring workers develop skills that are aligned with state education policies and economic development goals. So we are really thrilled to be entering into a program that is guided by and established by such proven organizations such as these. So our attendance rates continue to hold firm. As of the 109th day of school, 5,522 students have an attendance rate between 90 and 100%. Our daily attendance average has climbed to more than 95% over the last 2 months. An additional 1,167 students have logged on for e-education between 60 to 89% of the time. And, you know, of the countless things for which our teachers and school leaders deserve immense credit, their persistence in doing everything that they can to connect their students to e-education is definitely near the top of that list. So without their diligence, you know, we would not have been able to enjoy such a prolonged and consistent level of success in our attendance. In recent weeks, daily confirmed COVID cases in Everett range from the single digits to the low 20s. So the yellow line shows continued downward trend, while the green line indicates that cases do fluctuate at a relatively low level at this point, but especially when you compare them to the post-holiday period in January. And for now, the third week in a row, Everett is being categorized by the state as being in the yellow or moderate risk category. As of last Thursday, our daily incident rate saw a very slight increase, which again just reminds us that we must follow our mitigation practices as we continue to drive down our numbers. But again, we're very excited to be in the yellow category yet again this week. So Commissioner Jeff Riley and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education did release further mandatory in-person learning guidance last week. So now, you know, we're kind of trying to get a full idea of what everything's going to look like. And I do again commend EPS for being able to pivot quickly as news and updates have been released. So we have discussed already the first major component of the DESE requirements, that is the April 5th start date for K-5 students. The latest news does involve middle school grades, which DESE would like for us to begin by Wednesday, April 28th. Like K-5, the opening would be on a full-time basis, 5 days per week. I do believe we are in a strong position to meet this goal. All of our buildings will be opened on April 5th, which will give us a chance to, fully assess and refine any operations before we bring back our middle schoolers. A separate learning choice form, again, will be distributed to families with students in grades 6, 7, and 8 when we get closer to that time period. What is still to be determined is the high school level. So DESE has stated that they will make an announcement in April, at which time districts will be given at least 2 weeks notice of when the start date is. We, however, would like to go ahead and make return plans that best support our community rather than waiting for DESE guidance. So we will be working with the Everett Teachers Association to solidify that date sooner rather than later. So we're going just to cycle back to something we've already talked about, which is our decision to follow the state's guidance on physical distancing by setting a minimum of 3 feet in instances where it facilitates our reopening. So again, we'll follow the 6 feet standard as much as we can, including in hallways and in areas where students gather for arrival and dismissal. I do understand if the new guidance is giving anyone pause, which is why we wanted to take some time to talk about it a little bit, because the 6-foot benchmark has become so ingrained in us over the past year that it is hard to make that shift over to 3 feet. And so our decision really was not reached until we felt that we had a strong enough recommendation from medical experts. So this slide sort of summarizes the results of a 4-month study of 251 eligible districts with different physical distancing requirements. The districts in the study represented more than 530,000 students and more than 99,000 staff. So the findings of the study were published in the journal entitled Clinical Infectious Diseases. And the findings did show that cases among school staff in districts with 3 feet versus 6 feet of physical distancing were similar. Cases among students were also similar. So the conclusion is that lower spacing policies can definitely be adopted with face covering requirements without negatively impacting student or staff safety. I also want to reiterate that late last month, a group of 300 physicians, public health experts, and infectious disease specialists signed a letter informing state education leaders that 3 feet is an acceptable standard in schools. So here is the district's completed and final in-person schedule for the first major part of our reopening. And this slide includes 2 significant updates for families to note. One, our schools and e-learning centers will be closed on Monday, March 22nd. So on that date, students will not be logging on for remote learning, and students will not be coming into e-learning centers. So it will essentially be a no school day. We will use this day for classroom setup and professional development for our educators and staff. We'll also have extra personnel available on that date to help teachers solve any technical issues they may encounter. So again, there will be no school on a week from today. The second is that we will be closing our e-learning centers at the end of the day on Thursday, April 1st. So that will be the last date that our e-learning centers are running. Starting on Friday, April 2nd, which is already a regularly scheduled holiday on our calendar, our e-learning centers will be closed for all students, even those who opt to continue with e-education. And then again, like I've mentioned, on Monday, March 29th, students in substantially separate classrooms in all grade levels will return to school for in-person teaching and learning. That's pre-K through 12. Again, families will be contacted by our special education department to confirm whether they want to come back to school or whether they prefer to stay with remote learning. Students in kindergarten through 5 who choose to attend full-time, full-day in person will return on Monday, April 5th. And again, students have to fill out or families need to fill out the learning choice form we talked about earlier in order to secure their place in those classrooms. So we do ask that families complete it as soon as possible, even if they're stating that they would, again, prefer to stay in e-education. If you have not yet received it yet, please reach out to your school principal or your teacher. And I just want to thank the Everett Teachers Association, the members of this committee, and my administration for working so hard to hammer out this schedule. I think it helps us keep on track to fulfill the state's mandate and helps us get our students back into school. So as I've mentioned, the EPS is in the process of finding out just how many of our K-5 families are going to return for full-time in-person instruction and how many will remain in remote education. I stress that this is an ongoing process as these have just been put out. Families still have time to fill out the learning choice form that was shared last week. And again, if you haven't received it, please reach out to your school. But as of early this afternoon, we had received responses from about 59% of our K-5 families. So, this is a good place to start as we try to see what we're going to be looking at. And also since we only distributed the form last week. So of the respondents we've tallied so far across all grade levels at all our K-5 schools, 66% are going to return to school, while 34% will continue to use e-education. The total numbers are 1,132 for in-person and 579 for remote. Again, we are still waiting to hear from about 1,167 families. So again, the data that we're sharing tonight is just a snapshot into what we think we may see. We're not very surprised by these numbers. We had seen similar numbers when we were looking at hybrid, so it's not surprising that we would see this when we're thinking about full in-person. And I think the important thing to remember for all families is that they cannot make a wrong decision here. We are prepared to welcome back as many students as possible, but we totally understand why families would may prefer to stay with e-education. And again, we respect that that is a family decision. Our first look at the data also reveals pretty consistent percentages among our schools and among our grade levels. So of those who've completed the form so far, we've seen a preference for in-person classes in every grade K through 5 and in every school. So again, our school leaders will be continuing their outreach efforts this week, and we are confident that we'll be able to hear from all of our families by next week. As always, in looking at everything from an equity lens, we did make this form available in English, Haitian Creole, Portuguese, and Spanish. So again, the breakdown of the results shows that in-person learning is proving popular amongst all of our families at this point. Of the individuals who responded in English, the breakdown is 64 to 36% in favor of in-person. The breakdown is 63-37 among our Spanish-speaking families, 77-23 from our Portuguese-speaking families, and 85-15 among the Haitian Creole-speaking families who've submitted the form already. And of the people who have filled out the form so far, 63% have said that they will be participating in voluntary COVID testing when we return for in-person teaching and learning. That's another one of the questions that's on the learning choice form. So our school leaders will be sharing information about our testing programs before our start date. And we do hope that this will encourage a greater percentage of our families even to opt into our testing initiatives. But again, that is up to every family. And finally, to wrap up the presentation, I wanted to share some exciting news. We're very thrilled to announce that we completed our first vaccination clinic for EPS teachers and staff on Thursday and Friday of last week, March 11th and 12th. This clinic was made possible with support of Mayor DiMaria and his team and the dedicated health professionals at the CHA. In particular, I wanted to thank Christian Lamphere of the CHA for helping us to organize this so quickly for our staff. So the clinic allowed for 335 EPS employees to receive the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine at CHA's vaccination center in Somerville. Our original plan was to prioritize vaccines for those individuals who have returned to school buildings, as well as those who are central to our first phase of in-person reopening. But the CHA was actually able to provide us with extra vaccines so that we could extend the opportunity to every employee. So as a result, we were able to send out the opportunity to all of our 900 plus employees. 335 responded yes to the opportunity, and all 335 were able to receive the vaccine. So needless to say, this was a really incredible success, especially when we consider how uncertain we were about the vaccine just 2 weeks ago, or even a week ago. A lot of our employees who did turn down the chance to participate in the CHA clinic did so because they've already received their first dose of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine or were scheduled to already. In addition, the state has started accepting appointments for teachers and school staff last week for its regional locations. So I think all of this indicates that the large majority of our staff who want to get the vaccine will have received it by the time school opens at the end of March and early April. So at the vaccine clinics, the CHA provided everyone with the vaccination record card. They were automatically logged into the mass immunization system. And those who received the vaccine were also provided easy access to VSafe, which is a smartphone-based health checker to privately tell the CDC about any side effects, as this is information that they're gathering. And all of the feedback we received is that it was a very seamless. CHA made it a really smooth and positive experience. We've been advocating for our teachers to receive the vaccine ever since it hit the market. We began planning our in-person with the sincerest hope that we could link our reopening to EPS only vaccine clinics. And again, we know that that was tabled by the state, but we are very appreciative of the continued advocacy from everyone here, from our stakeholders, our mayor, and we were excited that we were able to vaccinate employees and generate, this momentum for our return to school on March 29th, April 5th, and beyond. So thank you for your time and patience, and I'll take any questions.